Gilbert sequencing. So today's sessions of bioinformatics are dedicated to the sequencing technologies of DNA. So we have started with chemical method like Sanger's method and maximum Gilbert method, and we'll proceed on to the next development in this field, which was whole genome sequencing. The shotgun sequencing was one of the approaches in whole genome sequencing. And further, the latest that we are witnessing from last few years is next generation sequencing, NGS. And you will be glad to know that in NGS also, right now we are in the era of second generation of NGS. So let me start where it all started. So the sequencing of genomics, the genome of bacteria and eukaryotes was started way back by scientists Sanger and Coulson in 1977 when they developed the chain termination D-deoxynucleotide sequencing method. So the first genome to be ever sequenced was of a bacteriophage, lambda into 174, and this was sequenced in 1977. Followed by further developments in this field, we came up with the whole genome shotguns approach, and the first eukaryotic organism to be sequenced was Haemophilus influenzae, a virus of the size 1.83 megabase pairs in 1995. Now let's see what is whole genome sequencing. Like in a chemical method, in the Sanger's method, you were using the D-deoxynucleotides to terminate the chain, and you were sequencing the end terminal amino acid of the each fragment. You were fragmenting the DNA, you were using the DDNTPs, fluorescently labeled DDNTPs, and you were building short stretches of fragments of DNA. In whole genome sequencing, what we do is that I'll be showing you the entire layout. What we are doing in whole genome sequencing, we have a big fragment of DNA, a big chunk of DNA, which we need to sequence. So first we need to break this sequence into smaller fragments. So we have this whole entire big chunk of the DNA. We will fragment it into smaller copies, and we will make the purified sequences. And then this purified sequence, the smaller stretches generated of the entire genome, are going to be aligned so that we have the overlapping fragments of varying size. And these overlapping fragments of varying size are then subjected to the agarose gel electrophoresis. This is a technique for separating the DNA of different sizes based on their molecular size. So after fragmenting the DNA using restriction endonucleases, we are going to make a library of the overlapping fragments. What is differentiating in these overlapping fragments, which base is different in these overlapping fragments, that we do by going for the agarose gel electrophoresis. And then we will purify the fragments from here, and we will make a library. A library, we use BAC, normally bacterial artificial chromosome. We will insert the DNA fragments, short DNA fragments of different sizes in these bacterial artificial chromosomes, and we will make two libraries. As you can see here, it has considered only two libraries, but in practical, we make many libraries. So first library here shown in the figure is of 10 kb size, 10 kilo base pairs, as you can see here. And the second library is of the DNA fragments having the size of 2 kilo base pairs. So now we are going to use these fragments, these short stretches, and put in our sequencer. And this sequencer here, as you can see, this sequencer is of different platforms depending on what it is. It could be a Illumina, like in the NGS we are using. It could be a Roche technique. It could be a RNA-seq platform. Different platforms are being used. Mainly we go for the Illumina to put in the sequencer, and the sequencer is also going to close the gaps and give you a reconstructed whole genome sequence. So first thing in whole genome sequencing is you have to make the random fragments of genomic DNA using the endonucleases enzyme. Then you have to go for the size selection as it is written here using electrophoresis. Then you will generate a library in BAC. BAC is my bacterial artificial chromosome, and this library will be of different size. And then you put in the sequencing machine, and after sequencing machine you will get the sequence assembly. You will get the genomic size which you want to, the sequence of DNA which you want to sequence. Now there are certain drawbacks. There are certain key terms as well as the drawbacks of this method which I will be covering. Okay, let me erase this out and go to the next slide. So I hope you have understood that the main thing in sequencing DNA is we will use restriction enzymes for cutting, then we will use the agarose electrophoresis after generating the overlapping segments. We will go, these are the main terms in whole genome sequencing. See, when you are generating the overlap, there are three things. You have to generate the potentially overlapping fragments in such a way that there is difference of only one base pair in these overlapping segments. And in layout, you have to find the correct order of the fragments, and consensus sequences need to be find out that what are the DNA sequences having same kind of the sequence of nucleotides. Okay. So whenever you are applying whole genome sequencing, you have to see the coverage. This is one of the key terms. What do I mean by coverage? Coverage means number of times a given position is included in a aligned fragment. Like if I was having a sequence of 100 base pairs and I was talking about the position number 5. So you will have to see that when you are making the overlapping segments, how many number of times this position number 5 has been included again and again in the alignment. And the quality of contigs, this term contigs here, overlapping segments of DNA. This contigs is very important because we also call this technique as contig mapping. So the number of overlapping segments and their size, how many contigs should be generated to sequence one DNA and what should be the contig size is one of the main parameters for whole genome sequencing. And if in the coverage it comes out that the value is 0, that means we have not covered a particular position in the alignment. We have missed it. So this coverage should never be 0. Now comes the main question when you do in the lab. After generating the contigs, there is also one more term known as scaffolds. In the whole genome sequencing, when you have broken your DNA into fragments and you have made the overlapping segments, there are some terms which are used. One is contig, other is scaffolds. A scaffold is ordered and oriented set of contigs that are linked to each other by made pairs of the sequencing reads. What do I mean by this is that those contigs which are joined together with each other by using adapters. There are certain contigs when you see that the size is very small, you ligate them. You make a bigger portion, and that is known as a scaffold. And N50, whenever you will go for the sequencing platform, these terms will be used. What is N50? N50 is the size, the contiguity of a genome assembly. When you are going to assemble your overlapping fragments, your contigs into a bigger size. So how many number of contigs have been considered? That is given by the value of N50. So better is to have a larger value of N50. The larger the N50 value, the better is the assembly of the genomic size while going for the sequencing. So N50 in general tells me how many number of contigs have been considered into account while making a final genome assembly. So longer the N50, the better is the assembly of the size after whole genome sequencing. So in general, we use two methods of whole genome sequencing. One is de novo assembly and second is resequencing using reference genomes. What happens is that we have two kind of the sequencing projects. One is whereby we have got the reference genomes, already known genomes, which will be found as the homologs of the unknown genome. And in second case, we have an entire new set of the DNA, which was never fragmented, which was never sequenced before. So for those DNA, we will use the de novo assembly. So these two methods are described here, that in case of the de novo assembly, I am trying to sequence those DNA fragments. I am trying to find out that genome which was having no prior knowledge. Without prior knowledge of the order of the reads or sequence, we are going to carry out the sequencing project. Like Human Genome Project, you must be very well aware that in 1988, Human Genome Project was started, and in 2001, entire human genome, 3.1 billion base pairs of the human genome was found out. This was a project carried on the basis of the de novo assembly. They started with the Sanger's method, but gradually they processed to the whole genome sequencing. Then a group known as Celera Genomics. It came into existence, and in 1988, when the project has started, this group came in the existence into 1993, and it claimed that rather than going from the Sanger's method, if we go from the whole genome sequencing method, we will be able to sequence the human genome much faster. I don't know how much you know about the Human Genome Project, but when Human Genome Project was started, the scientists, that group which was working on Human Genome Project, it has taken a time of 20 years. The initial time that was asked from the government was 20 years. But due to development of whole genome sequencing and shotgun genome sequencing, the entire project got completed in a time frame of 13 years only. They started in 1988, and in 2001, they were able to tell the entire genomic sequence of the human DNA, the 3.1 billion. So obviously, shotgun genome sequencing or the whole genome sequencing was a landmark discovery after Sanger's method. So we carry out the WGS in two ways, de novo and resequencing using reference genomes. Okay. Now, selection of a technology for a sequencing project. You can go for these technologies. You can use assembly of the genome using de novo or a novel approach. You can go for the SNP identification. SNP identification is identification of the single nucleotide polymorphism. When you have generated the contigs of different sizes, you will be able to compare with the known homologs, and you can see that where there is a change in a particular base as compared to second genome. So when I'm comparing two genomes, I'm comparing two genomic sizes, their sequences, I can identify at what positions those sequences are differing by means of SNPs. So this I have tried to show you these technologies that are listed here: Solid, 454, GS, FLX, Pacific Biosciences, Solexa, Heliscope. These all are NGS platforms, and Illumina is also my NGS platforms. So the pairs, you can see the terms here. It uses the paired reads, it uses the accurate reads, read length is very important, high number of reads. So what do I mean by reads? I'm talking about the contigs here. The term that I use here is reads, reads, and they can be paired reads or they can be single reads. What do I mean by paired read and single read? When I'm taking a double helical, double stranded DNA, if I'm going to break open the helix and take only one strand for sequencing, that is known as a single end read. I hope you understood. That is a single end read. But when I'm taking a double stranded DNA, like in NGS, and I am breaking it into fragments, and I'm using the adapters at the end of these broken double stranded DNA fragments, then these are known as paired read. The double stranded DNA short fragments having the adapters at the end, they are known as the paired read. Okay. And if I am opening my helix and taking one strand of DNA, putting a primer, amplifying it, and then going for the sequencing using WGS, then it is known as a single read. So you should remember that both the single read and paired read are used as inputs for the sequencing platforms. Another very important thing is that I use the term, when I talk about the sequences, I will show you in my later slides. We use the term raw reads very often in sequencing. What is raw read? Raw read is the small fragment of DNA which is generated after fragmenting the bigger genomic size. And that raw read smaller sequence, this could be in the form of the FASTA sequence, or it could be in form of FASTQ. FASTA, we have told you, it's a 2-line. In this, we have mainly 2 lines. First line, the description. Second line tells the sequence. But in case of FASTQ, we have a sequence of 4 lines. The reads that you are using for sequencing after fragmenting your DNA. FASTQ is also having, it's a 4-line sequence in which the first line tells me the identification, just like FASTA. Second line tells me the sequence. Third line tells me the quality score. Third and fourth line, they tell me the quality score of these reads, how well these short segments of DNA have been framed and how accurate is their assembly. So you need to know that as an input in the platforms of whole genome sequencing, we can use either the single read or paired read. The reads can be in the form of FASTA sequence or they can be in the form of FASTQ. Or you can, or there is one more term which is often used in WGS, that is assembled genome. These short stretches, there is a tool known as assembler in the NGS and WGS platforms. This assembler will do what? It can assemble 4 to 5 fragments, the shorter fragments, into a bigger one. Or from the shotgun sequencing approach, the overlapping contigs, it could be 100 or 200 contigs that you have generated. So assembler will assemble these contigs into one sequence. That sequence can be in FASTA format or FASTQ format and put it into the WGS platform or NGS platform. So if the question comes, what could be the input for the whole genome sequencing or for the NGS, you can say that it could be raw reads, it could be paired reads, it could be single reads, or it could be a assembled genome. Now let's move on to the, in the practical, I will show you what I mean here. I'll move on to the next slide. So why do we need to apply the whole genome sequencing? We need to apply the whole genome sequencing because it helps us to find the gene. What are the genes in the entire genome? क्योंकि आपके genome में सिर्फ genes ही नहीं होते हैं. You have also got non-coding segments. So you have got both the introns, exons, repetitive elements, junk DNA in the entire genome. So when you sequence the whole genome, you will be able to find out what are the genes, where is the gene location, what is the sequence of the gene, what is the sequence of non-coding DNA, what portion of the DNA is making the junk DNA, and what portion of the DNA is coming under the introns. Because know that it is only the exons which encode for the genes, which are the functional reasons of the genome. So to find out the genes, we use whole genome sequencing. To classify the junk DNA and the actual DNA, we use whole genome sequencing. We also use whole genome sequencing to understand the genome evolution, how my genome has evolved from ancestor to here. And we use for the genome annotation and for finding the genes associated with the diseases. What is genome annotation? Genome annotation is extraction of the useful biological knowledge from the raw sequence of the nucleotides. So when you want to do the structural genome annotation and functional genome annotation, you must go for the whole genome sequencing. Structural genome annotation is the process of identifying genes and the structure of the introns and exons. And functional genome annotation is the process of finding the gene ontology in terms of their functions. In functional genome annotation, we will relate the structure of the gene with its function. Now the question should come when we were already having WGS, why we had to come up to the NGS. One advantage is that NGS gives us high throughput sequencing. You can sequence 4 to 5 genomes within 3 days by using NGS. It is that fast and it is giving us that much accuracy. So advantages was that in WGS we do not require genomic maps. We can go for the de novo sequencing, as I just told you. So we do not need to necessarily have a reference genome for whole genome sequencing. It is less time consuming as compared to Sanger's method and Gilbert's method, and it is saving a lot of money. Nowadays, in less than $1,000, you can get your genome sequenced. In USA, they are charging around $600 to $700 for sequencing one genome. So it is very much money saving. And disadvantages is that the accuracy, because you are generating so many fragments, you are going for assembly in such a huge scale, so accuracy is not 100%. And assembly of the eukaryotic genomes is difficult because in eukaryotic genome, you will be, I don't know whether you're aware or not, less than 3% of the human genome is known to be coding. That means 97% of the human genome is having junk DNA. So it is very difficult to sequence a genome which is full of junk. So because due to abundant repetitive sequences and the junk DNA, we have the problem in sequencing by WGS. I'll show you some tools for the bacterial identification. Like once you have generated so many sequences, you have come to know the sequence of the bacteria, viruses, human beings by using WGS approaches, by using NGS approaches. Now we must have certain databases. We are having databases which store the information about these bacteria, about these viruses, about these microbes. So I will be telling you, if I give you an unknown sequence for bacteria and you have to find out that what is this bacteria, whether it's a E. coli or it is a Pseudomonas or it is a Haemophilus virus. So I need to have some knowledge on what platform I need to go, which WGS platform needs to be used. So Center for Genomic Epidemiology is a database which is having many number of bacterial and virus sequences stored. So when I give you an unknown bacterial sequence and I ask you to identify what species this bacteria is, then I will go for this K-MER finder tool to type my bacteria, to identify my unknown species. What is K-MER finder? So K-MER finder is a database of known bacterias, and the technology which is used for storing the sequence of the known bacteria in this database, in this tool, is whole genome sequencing. Initially in molecular biology, we were using 16S ribosomal RNA gene as the basis for knowing the taxonomy of unknown organisms, for unknown bacteria. So 16S ribosomal RNA is a classical technique used in molecular biology to know the species of unknown organism. But this had a lot of drawbacks. So K-MER finder is the tool which tells us the number of co-occurring K-MERs in the unknown genomic sequence that map correctly to 93 to 97% of the isolates. Isolates means known bacteria. 93 to 97% of the known bacteria in the evaluation set. How do I do it? K-MER, first of all, I should be telling you what is a K-MER. K-MER is a short stretch having K bases. I had a huge genome. I had broken out that genome into smaller fragments, smaller contigs, and they can be in the form of FASTA sequence or they can be in the form of FASTQ. They are known as raw wreaths. So these raw wreaths, which are in FASTA, FASTQ or assembled way, they will be used as input in the tool, and k-mer could be of any size. This size could be of 7 bases, 8 bases, 9 bases, 10 bases. So suppose I had a genome of 500 base pair size. I have broken it into the segments having a size of 7. So 7, 7, 7, 7. 500 divided by 7, you will get that number of contigs that we have formed from that 500 base pair sequence. So k is any positive integer which is representing the number of continuous sequences in a fragment generated after the fragmentation of a large DNA. So what we do here is that in k-mer tool, I will submit my bacterial species, and this database will break down the bacterial species into the k-mers, and it will try to find out the matching k-mers with your unknown sequence to find out, to type what is your species. So this is a k-mer tool having the data of known species. Unknown species are broken, like I had shown you the sequence here, ATGG, AA, GTC, this red one, this entire sequence. This is broken into k-mers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 size, let me use the annotation. This was my unknown sequence. I have to find out that what is the species of this sequence. So first it will be broken into n number of k-mers. So it has broken this into a k-mer of 7 size. यहाँ से लेके यहाँ तक फर्स्ट k-mer, ठीक है. फिर आपको एक बेस छोड़ के जनरेट करना होता है, जैसे मैंने बताया था. So leave first base A here, start from thymine. It will go till here. Then leave 2 bases, start from G. Again 7. So we have generated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 k-mers of unknown sequence having the size 7, and apply in the database. And this is the web server, what I was telling you. So this site, whatever tools I'm going to cover today, be it k-mer, be it MLST or resistance gene finder, we will be using this Center for Genomic Epidemiology. It's a web server developed by DTU, Denmark Technical University, and it has these tools to find out the species of the unknown sequence, to find out the type of a species, to find out the resistance profile. We know that nowadays bacteria are very much resistant to the antibiotics. So if you want to know that which bacteria is having the antibiotic resistance against which antibiotic, so I should go to this tool. इससे मुझे ये पता होगा कि yes, amoxicillin is not going to act on E. coli species number 13. Or I will be able to say that yes, tetracycline is not going to be effective on the Pseudomonas species 15. So now let's come to k-mer. In k-mer, you have to select the scoring method. The scoring method gives you 2 options. I will come to it: a standard method and winner takes it all. In a standard, it will consider all the bacteria and the accuracy level of 80%. And if you take winner takes it all, then it will consider 100% matching only. To select the scoring method, it should be standard in general. Select the database. In database, you get the choice whether you want to select bacteria or you want to go for the viruses or fungal. And you have to upload your isolate file. What is isolate file? Isolate file is your unknown sequence which you want to know what it is, which you want to classify, whether it's a E. coli or a Pseudomonas. Let me clear my screen first. This is my next, as I was showing you that you have to select standard or you have to select winner takes it all. If you select standard, it will take all the matched templates with 80% accuracy. If you select winner takes it all, it will show only the best match template with the 100% accuracy. And then you have to select Once you have understood whether to go for the standard or second option, you have to select the type of organism. So you can see from here, it is having a database of bacterial chromosomes, bacterial organisms, plasmids, bacteria type strains, fungi, protists, human viruses, vertebrate viruses, antibiotic resistance database. So I have taken an unknown sequence and I want to know whether it is a bacteria, which bacteria. So I have selected bacteria organisms. Next is, now you will take your unknown sample. The unknown sample, as I told you, it could be in FASTA or it could be in FASTQ format. So this is the strain 1 in FASTA format. I had saved in the text form, so that is why it's coming here, strain 1 FASTA.txt, and then I have to upload it, this file. Isolate file means my unknown organism which I want to upload from my files. Now, once I have uploaded, it will give me two options. With either I can wait on the web server page or I can put my email here to notify me the results via email. Now see, the results have come. After I had put my unknown sequence, strain 1, this is the score I have got from the K-mers, the 7 size K-mer. So it is showing that my hit is E. coli O104 is to H4. It is the antibiotic resistance profile and the strain number. So score, I get the results in this form for the unknown query. It has given me different organisms, E. coli, Salmonella, Typhimurium, but the best score is obtained in case of E. coli. Strain number O104 is to H4. And Z score, query coverage, template coverage, depth, total query coverage, total template coverage, and total depth. These are the parameters. Now, what are they and how do I select? So you can see here is that the first score is the number of K-mers. That means 10,879 K-mers of E. coli have matched with our sequence. So score is very important. Higher the score, higher is my resemblance of the unknown with that particular bacteria. So it tells us the number of K-mers. Second parameter is Z score. Z score is the statistical significance of the alignment. Higher is the Z score, better is the quality of alignment. Next is my query coverage. It tells us what is the percentage of K-mers from unknown sample that have mapped to a template in our database. So you can see the value here is 97.08, very good result. That means 97% of the K-mers from our unknown sequence are mapped to the E. coli template. So I can say with confidence that my unknown species is E. coli and this is strain O104 is to H4. So query coverage tells us the percentage of K-mers from unknown sample that map to a template. What is template coverage? Again, template coverage tells me the percentage of K-mers from template genome that have covered the K-mers from unknown sample. Like query coverage was telling me the percentage of K-mers from query, which are matching to the template. And template coverage is the other way around. It is telling the percentage of K-mers from template genome that have covered the K-mers from the unknown sample. So this should be also high. So it is showing that 99.79%, almost 100%, 99.7% of the template genome K-mers have covered the K-mers from the unknown sample. So based on these results, score, Z score, query coverage, and template coverage, we decide which is the strain of our unknown sample. Like I had put a sample, now my result is that it is a E. coli strain O104 into H4. Now once I have known the strain, next question comes to my mind, what is the type? बहुत सारे टाइप्स होते हैं स्ट्रेन के. So MLST tool is the multiple locus sequence typing tool. This tells me the strain type of the unknown bacteria. आपने जब एक बार पहले अगर आपके पास unknown sequence होगा, so first step is you will go for the K-mer, and K-mer tool will tell me the species की कौन सी species है ये, whether it is a E. coli or it is a Pseudomonas or a Salmonella. After identification of the unknown species, I should go for the typing. What is the species type? So for that, I use the MLST tool. It is multi-locus sequence typing tool, and it is considered as a gold standard of typing. If you do all this in lab using molecular biology, it takes a lot of time, but on the in vitro, on this in silico platform of Center for Genetic Epidemiology, you will be able to find out the type of your strain within minutes. So again, this is a web-based methods of MLST based on the WGS data. What we have done here is that we have stored the data of many alleles of the known organisms, and by using the BLAST of against the unknown query sequence with the known MLST alleles, we determine the type of allele of the unknown bacteria or a unknown microbe. So in this method MLST was tested on pre-assembled genomes from 336 isolates covering 56 MLST schemes. It has short sequence reads from 387 isolates covering 10 schemes, and MLST sequence can determine the sequence type of unknown isolate on the basis of the whole genome sequencing data. So you submit your bacterial sequence in the MLST tool. It's a database containing MLST alleles, and this tool will give you the species type. So what I have shown here is that I have the MLST tool. I am feeding my unknown sequence, which could be either a raw read or it could be an assembled genome, into the BLAST, into the MLST tool, and based on the BLAST, it will compare with the alleles. You need to remember that complete organism database is not there. Here in MLST, we are having the database of the alleles. So my unknown sequence will be compared against these alleles, and based on the best matching alleles, I will get the sequence type. So this is again the web server page, cge.cbs.dtu.dk. I have the MLST tool. I have to select which bacteria I want to type against. There are different options, and you have to select the type of your read, whether it is an assembled genome or it is a raw read. So you can see the options here. It has got huge number of alleles of these microorganisms: Achromobacter, Aspergillus fumigates, Bacillus cereus, Bacillus subtilis, Brachyspira, Campylobacter. So these are the strains whose alleles are stored in the database. Now select the type of read, whether you are going to give a raw read in the FASTA or FASTQ format, or you are going to feed in the assembled genome. So this is the option which is showing that what all formats are acceptable. So just now I discussed that you can give single end read or you can give pair end reads. So these platforms, if you have used 454 sequencing platform of NGS, these are my different platforms: Solid, Ion Torrent, Illumina, and 454. अभी आपको रोमा मैम जब बताएंगे अपने लेक्चर में, तो there are different technologies. Some of these techniques work by means of synthesis, some work by means of ligation. So NGS works on 4 platforms, 4 methods, which will be covered in detail by Roma ma'am in her next lecture. So you can see that the type of reads, these are my sequencing platforms. If you are thinking what is this, 454, Illumina, Ion Torrent, and Solid. These are my sequencing platforms which I have used. So I can give as an input single end read, single stranded DNA fragment, or I can give pair end, the small fragment generated from double end DNA, double helical. So these, that means this server is using the input from any of these platforms. Whatever NGS platform you have used, you can give the input here. Okay. This has shown a faster example, as you are aware. Now I have to upload my isolate file, my unknown sequence. Like again, I have taken strain 1 faster here and I have uploaded that same strain of E. coli. The one in which I have come to know that it's a E. coli. Again, it will give you the option, either you can notify by email or you can wait for the web server to do the calculation. And this is the result. What I'm interested here is that the typing result. See. So now my typing result has shown that strain of E. coli from Kamer is the strain type, species type 313. And how do I know it? It has shown, these are the parameters: percentage identity, HSP length, allele length, which are used to find the ST of my unknown sequence. HSP is the length of the alignment between the best matching allele and the corresponding sequence in the genome. So the genome which I had taken, it's showing that the longest fragment of my unknown sequence, which has mapped with this locus, is of 501 nucleotides. The sequence length is this, and the identity is 100%. So you can see that in all these alleles, maximum length of matching HSP is 501, and others are below it, 432 and 399. Let me move to the next slide. So if you want to go into detailed result, there was an option of extended output. You can click it. The moment you click extended output, it will show you that MLST allele sequence which it has considered and your hit in genome, your random hit. So you can see 100% matching is there between the MLST allele and your query, your hit. So better the identity, better is the HSP length and allele length, you will get the species type. Now, once I have known what is my species and what is the type of a species, I am very much interested to find out the resistance gene. There are a lot of bacteria which are having the resistance against antibiotics. We know that nowadays the major problem encountered is MDR, multiple drug resistance of the microbes. So because of which we are not able to cure the diseases. So this tool, resistance gene detection, the tool name is RESTfinder. It helps us in finding that what are the different kind of resistance genes which are present in my unknown bacteria. So again, it is important to find out how the patient can be treated, whether a particular antibiotic is going to be effective against the pathogen which has affected the patient or not. So for this, we have a technique known as RESTfinder. Whole genome sequencing analysis tools have given us the possibility of analyzing the genotype basis of resistance. The basis of resistance here is genotyping, the results that you have got from the WGS. So RESTfinder is based on a curated database, public database, as well as scientific papers. It is a web-friendly interface and freely accessible tool. It will detect the presence of whole resistance genes in the microbes, but the drawback is that it will not detect the point mutations causing resistance in the whole genome sequence. जब भी आप कोई बैक्टीरिया लोगे, whole genome sequencing करके उसके raw reads और assembled genomes generate करोगे, तो वो आपको use करने पड़ेंगे as a input in RESTfinder tools. So we have a bacterial sequence, we will submit to the RESTfinder and it will give us the resistance gene phenotype. So the database, RESTfinder database is containing the genes, known genes for these 14 major antimicrobial agent groups: aminoglycides, glycides, beta-lactam, colistin, phosphomycin, fusidic acid, macrolide, nitroimidazole, phenicol, quinolone, rifampicin, sulfonamide, tetracycline, trimethoprim, and vancomycin. So my database will be able to tell, considering these 14 antimicrobial agents, that whether my particular unknown bacteria, whether it has got the resistance gene against these 14 antibiotics or not. So you take the unassembled unknown genome sequence, it could be raw read or assembled genome, feed it to the ResFinder. Based on the blast against the known resistance gene profile, it will tell whether the unknown genome is having the resistance gene or not. So this is my web server, again CGE. You can see it will ask select antimicrobial configuration, whether you want to check against all the antibiotics, whether it is having the gene resistance gene against all the 14 amino acids, or you want to go for a specific checking. In general, we select all. As you can see on my screen, we select all antibiotic resistance gene. Then you have to select the threshold level. What is the percentage accuracy or the percentage alignment you are expecting? 98%. And minimum length of the matching between your unknown sequence and between the known genomic sequences of resistance, 60% in default we keep. So after selecting the threshold of 98% and minimum length of 60%, you will select the type of reads, whether it is an assembled genome or it is a conceived. So if you have increased, I will tell you one interpretation, one observation that is seen in the server. If you increase the percentage identity, by default we have taken as 60%. जितना आप percentage identity बढ़ाते जाओगे 80, 90, 100, उतना आपको कम results मिलेंगे, क्योंकि अगर आप 60 रखोगे तो query coverage जो है known के साथ unknown की वो 60 के करीब ही देखेगा. That 60% hit has to be covered. The moment you increase, so it becomes more stringent. So this select minimum length, it is a percentage of the total resistance gene matched to the user sequence. Again, the type of the reads you can decide whether you want to go for the assembled genome or you want to go for which particular sequencing platform was used, 454, Illumina, AndTorrent or Solid. And here is the example of FastQ. Description followed by the quality score. Upload your isolate here. Strain 1 I have taken and I have uploaded. So this is the result I got. You see, it has told that my bacteria has these resistance genes. AAC6, AADA1, structural gene A1 and structural B, and BLATEM. These are different, those 14 antibiotics that I showed you in the starting, that aminoglycides, sulfonamides, these are the antibiotics against which I'm checking the resistance gene. So it has shown that 100% identity of the gene for these particular resistance gene was observed with my query sequence. HSP is again the length of the alignment between the best matching resistance gene and the corresponding sequence in the unknown genome that you have uploaded here. Query length is the length of the best matching resistance gene, obviously. So better is this criteria, HSP or query length, better is the result. The dark green color indicates a perfect match for a given gene. And the percentage identity shows you how much of the sequence in the genome covers the entire length of the resistance gene in the database. And red color indicates that there were no resistance genes found against the specific antibiotic. क्योंकि आपने 14 antibiotics select करी थी और 14 के against आप resistance gene देखे थे, तो it is showing that only 5 resistance genes are there. So remaining 9 are not there in the organism. So you can detect from this database that what antibiotic is going to be effective against my query. And the gray color, sometimes in the result, as you can see, dark green color tells the best match and 100% identity. Red color tells no resistance gene. Similarly, in the results, you will get some gray colors. So gray color indicates there was a non-perfect match. HSP length is shorter than the resistance gene length. जो आपका मैचिंग लेंथ था वो रेजिस्टेंस जीन के लेंथ से बहुत छोटा था. और अगर आपका लाइट ग्रीन आता है तो भी इसका मतलब यही है कि HSP लेंथ इज जस्ट इक्वल टू द रेजिस्टेंस जीन लेंथ. नॉर्मली क्या है, रेजिस्टेंस जीन के लिए जो रेजिस्टेंस जीन का लेंथ है वो HSP लेंथ से ज्यादा होना चाहिए हाईएस्ट मैचिंग सीक्वेंस से. So these are my results that glycopeptide, no resistance gene found. And if you want to see the extended output, you can click here. You can see here resistance gene in green color, dark green, DFRA1, resistance gene against trimethoprim antibiotic has been obtained. Similarly, here if you'll be clicking detail, you will find out that blood TEM E1 here. Let me show you by annotation. This is showing that beta-lactam resistance gene is present in my query. So if I will use beta-lactam antibiotic to treat this bacteria, it will not be useful. Let me remove, clear the screen. So if you see the extended output, you will see like this resistance gene sequence, the database has been mapped to my hit. And by dark green sequences, HSP length and percentage identity, I am able to find out what all resistance gene are present in my unknown query. So thank you very much for your kind attention.